This is Jennifer Filipowicz, and she is my guest today, and we're going to talk a little bit about her writing journey. And she is writing an awful lot. She has one novel done. She's working on another novel. She hasn't got anything that is exactly ready to put out there for the real world yet, but she is really working hard on what she's doing. So,
thank you.
Jennifer, I wanted to ask you, can you tell me something wild and crazy about yourself?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question because for me, I've always been like the cautious one and very just, I don't take any risks. And when I was a kid, I didn't want to go down the twirly slide, and I didn't want to like go drinking when I was a teenager because that was like too risky, right?
Too risky.
And
and yet now you're writing science fiction, and you can kind of maybe live vicariously.
Maybe sometimes I think I don't have enough experiences. Maybe like that I should have been taking more risks as a young person when I was young to just to have those experiences, because I know a lot of people who took a lot of risks and really they now have normal lives. They aren't like. They didn't have these horrible consequences that I perceived.
So are you telling me you don't have a normal life now?
I have a normal life, but they have one too. I could just have these more experiences.
Yeah. What is your background then, and how much of it includes writing?
My background? Well, you mean like my family background?
Well, yeah, like your childhood, where you came from, your education.
Well, my mom is a writer. She's written like over 30 books. She writes for children and young adult. Her name is Sylvia McNichol. SylviaMcNichol.com. And so
sorry, that was Sylvia McNichol.
Yes.
Yes.
That's her website, obviously.
Excellent.
So when I grew up, I knew a lot of writers, and like we went to writers' festivals, and it's very much a part of my life. In school I took art, and I took a minor in writing. And so, for me, art is it was like going to grown-up kindergarten. That's so those are my two passions, I guess. Not that, I don't know, they just, or two things I like to do. I'm not that passionate of a person, but writing and art and science fiction.
Well, as a matter of fact, we're here at this weekend writing retreat, and I've noticed that you write pretty much all the time. So tell us about that.
I write all the time.
You've got that computer in front of you, and you're...
Sometimes I'm checking my email. I have two young children.
Yeah.
I have a 4.5-year-old and a 2.5-year-old, and I have learned to just write a sentence here, a paragraph here, whereas before I would have had to kind of delve into that writer place, and you do kind of have to get to that zone, but I've been trying more and more to kind of
bring the zone to you.
Well, not to wait to have a big long period of time to get into that place, because I can't, right? So even if I don't think, because if I think, oh, I don't have time, I'll end up doing something else, and sometimes it turns out I did have time, and I'll end up doing something silly, exactly. And sometimes I procrastinate a lot, so I'm not always like that, but I'm at a writing retreat, so now I'm in that I feel like a real writer, and so I have that. Yeah. I'm in that place.
Okay, well, that was my question. You know, you've got two young children, and you don't have a lot of time. So why do you do it? What does it do for you?
Sometimes I ask myself the same question, and sometimes I don't write for a while, because I'm like, what's the point? No one's reading it. I don't know if I'll ever get this published, so I don't like sometimes you go to that place and you're like, this is pointless. But at the same time, being a mother and I've been stay-at-home mother. You work for other people all the time, and you're caring for other people all the time, and I need to retain that some part of myself.
Yeah.
So it's not like I need to do. If it's not writing, it needs to be something else that's just for me, and it's me, so I don't lose myself in my family.
And you're more valued to your family when you look after you.
Yeah, and I love my family, and I'm happy to be in that role, but I don't, I do need to do things for myself.
Jennifer, how do you deal with sensitive topics in your writing? And what I mean by that is I am writing about a historical novel, and so I have the question, do I use the socially correct word, native, or do I use what was used at the time period that I'm writing, which would be Indian? How do you deal with that sort of thing, or do you ever have to?
I'm sensitive to... I think what's sensitive to one person is not sensitive at all to somebody else. So I just write the way, like, I see it in my head, and then... I don't know, but I don't know if there's anything really offensive about what I'm writing. Although there is some...
And maybe sci-fi is a little different.
Well, no, I think I could probably offend people, but I don't worry about that.
Oh! Okay, and here's another question for you. Do your friends understand why you write? And do they even know? And when did you tell them? Talk about that a little bit.
People who I've known for years know that I write. But understand? No. And it's refreshing to, like, come to a place where everyone kind of gets it and knows, like, it knows the drive to write and, like, understands. I don't know. But my friends are encouraging. They encourage me. Some of them more than others. I don't know that you can completely understand being a creative person or being a writer unless you are that person.
Yeah. Okay. What is the best thing that you see yourself accomplishing with your writing, and what is the least amount that you see yourself accomplishing? Like,
I just want to get my book published. That's like, after that, it's almost like, I don't expect much. And I don't even expect to get my book published. That's just the goal. And
so what would be your best dream?
Oh, the best thing ever would be, I not only do I have my book published and it's in a bookstore on the shelf there, but like people read it, and then I have legions of fans, you know, and like boatloads of money or whatever.
Oh, so it's actually selling.
But, oh yes, exactly. A book that sells. But it's not about the money or anything. Obviously, you go into a different career. But it's like the idea that people will like read your words and care about them. Like there's reading a book, and then there's like being a fan of a book. So that would be.
So what would be the worst thing?
The worst thing? I just don't finish it.
Yeah.
I just like. Or like I have the one done, and I just like leave it, and nobody really reads it, and it just
sits there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to ask you. Do you have things that you would like to say about your writing journey that I haven't touched on?
Well, I haven't really talked about my books. Do you want to know what they're about?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Tell me what your books are. I know they're sci-fi, but let's go on from there.
Okay, well the first one, it starts a woman works on a spaceship, a mining vessel, so it's like a grubby spaceship. It's not the Enterprise by any means. And she's the only woman on the ship. She fixes things. She's an engineer, and she has no memory of her past life. Her only memories occurred on this spaceship, and she had a relationship with the commander of the spaceship. They're now like not together, but he's still in love with her. And so it starts there, and then there's these war droids. One of them who works on the ship. They're not human. They're machines, but they've been retrofitted to look like sex slaves, to look like women. They kidnap her and they take her to Earth, and she ends up throughout the book discovering the woman and the war droids are wanting to take over the solar system, and because they've been oppressed and they want to take over, and it has like this war droid uprising as a backstory, and really at its heart it's a love story between the commander and this woman Emily. So that's the first book.
Okay, that's excellent. Well, and the second book is it a sequel or is it a totally different?
It's a totally different. I get bored with the same character, so I'd write a sequel if somebody loved the first book. But this is in this one, and this is one I'm working on now. It's not finished. The society is, we're on an alien planet, and it's about this family and how they come together. And in this society, it's a matriarchal society, and each woman has two husbands. One of them is and they almost have it's almost like a three-gendered society. So the two males are like, one sort of male that's called a nurse male, who's very more feminine. His job would be to care for the children, and then another husband called the nesting husband. He is more muscular. His job is to protect the family and also to like take care of the house. So it's like I'm playing with gender roles, and there ends up being like the birth of a hybrid child, because a human lands on Earth, and there's a hybrid child, and how he deals in a society that really has rigid gender roles, but they're totally the opposite of what ours would be. So I'd like to just play with things like that, and
you make me think of Ursula K. Le Guin in Left Hand of Darkness.
I love that. Yeah.
I loved that book. And it has that whole androgynous thing going on there. Yeah. Well, good for you, and I wish you all the success in the world, and I'm just in awe of the amount of work that you do when you're raising a young family as well. It's not easy. Okay, well, thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your blog.